Oh, gorgeous, my darling. What's your
you.
name and where you come from?
My name is Binita Chetry and I am 8 years old and I am from Assam, India.
When Binita Chetry stepped onto the Britain's Got Talent stage, she looked like any other hopeful, nervous, quiet, uncertain. But when she sang, the world stopped. Millions watched. Thousands cried. And yet, most still don't know the full story. Who is Binita Chetry really? Where did she come from and what pain and power live behind that voice? This is everything you didn't know about the girl who silenced the world. Before the stage lights, before the applause, and before the millions of YouTube views, Binita Chetry lived a life defined by quiet resilience. Born in a small town in Assam, India, her world was not paved with privilege or ease. It was shaped by simplicity, tradition, and a weight of responsibility far heavier than most children are asked to bear. Raised in a family that struggled to make ends meet, Binita learned early on that dreams were luxuries, not guarantees. Her parents, hardworking and humble, wanted a better future for their children, but often lacked the means to provide it. There were no voice coaches, no glittering stage rehearsals, only long hours, modest meals, and the echo of songs sung in solitude. Binita's voice was born in silence, nurtured in whispers behind closed doors, practiced in the stillness of rural nights where the only audience was the wind. Her earliest performances were not for fame but for comfort. When her mother was ill, Binita sang. When her father returned from a long day's work, she hummed quietly as he rested. And when she sat alone, wondering what else the world could offer, music was the only answer that ever felt true. She never trained formally, couldn't afford to, but she studied every note with an intensity that formal education could never teach. Bollywood classics, regional folk melodies, Western ballads from crackling radios, Binita absorbed them all like oxygen. Her voice wasn't just beautiful, it was layered with the ache of every day she'd been told to dream smaller. And yet, despite her hardships, she was not bitter. She was observant, patient, waiting, watching the world and wondering if there was a space in it for someone like her. It wasn't until she was a teenager that someone finally saw her the way we all see her now. A girl with a gift too big for her surroundings. A local music teacher, volunteering at a community event, heard Binita sing and couldn't believe what he was hearing. He approached her family stunned. "She doesn't just sing," he said. "She feels the music, that's rare." That chance encounter would be the first of many moments where Binita's quiet determination would intersect with fate. And, while it didn't catapult her into immediate stardom, it planted a seed. The first real belief that maybe, just maybe, her voice could take her somewhere far beyond the dusty roads of her childhood. Enjoying Binita's untold journey? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Your support brings these hidden stories to life. Even as she grew older and moved to the UK in pursuit of education and better opportunities, the music never left her. She sang at cultural events, at weddings, in front of small crowds who often stopped and stared, sensing there was something deeper behind her voice, something unpolished but undeniably powerful. Binita never chased fame. She wasn't one to push herself into the spotlight. But that's what made her presence so captivating when she finally stepped onto the stage of Britain's Got Talent. Because behind that shy smile and soft-spoken demeanor was a story most people couldn't imagine. A story of pain, perseverance, and passion that had been quietly building for years. When she stood before Simon Cowell, Amanda Holden, and the rest of the judging panel, it wasn't just a performance. It was a release. A lifetime of doubt and difficulty poured into one song. And when the first note left her lips, something shifted. The air changed. The room stilled. And for the first time, the world finally heard what the silence had been hiding all along. On the day Binita Chetry walked onto the Britain's Got Talent stage, the producers didn't expect much. She wasn't dressed in designer labels or stage glitter. She didn't have a dramatic backstory video queued up. There were no tearful rehearsals or sweeping camera shots of family members waiting anxiously in the wings. Instead, there was just Binita, nervous, soft-spoken, and almost swallowed by the enormity of the moment. Her voice shook when she introduced herself. A few audience members whispered to each other, unsure what to expect. Even Simon Cowell looked as if he had already mentally written off the performance before it began. But then, the music started, and everything changed. The moment Binita opened her mouth and began to sing, the atmosphere in the auditorium shifted with such force it felt almost physical. Her voice, haunting and angelic, poured through the speakers with a kind of emotional clarity that made people sit straighter in their chairs. There was no bravado in her delivery, no attempt to impress with vocal gymnastics, just raw, pure feeling. Within seconds, people began to cry. One woman in the front row clutched her chest. Amanda Holden blinked rapidly to fight back tears. Even Simon, stoic, stone-faced Simon, leaned forward, clearly caught off guard. What audiences didn't see, though, was what happened before the performance. According to backstage crew, Binita had almost pulled out at the last minute. Overwhelmed by the magnitude of the show, she had quietly told a producer she felt like she didn't belong. "This is for real singers," she whispered. "Maybe I shouldn't do this." It was only after a kind gesture from a fellow contestant, a simple hand squeeze and a "you got this," that she took a breath, steadied herself, and walked out. That moment of hesitation would have been the end for so many people, but not for Binita. Her courage, born from years of pushing through doubt and difficulty, carried her to that microphone. And when she sang, she wasn't performing, she was sharing. She chose a classic love song, something gentle but powerful in its simplicity, and though her accent was soft and her pronunciation not always perfect, the emotion was undeniable. You could hear her journey in every note, every sacrifice, every unanswered prayer, every quiet night she sang to herself in the dark. By the time she reached the final note, there was no sound in the room but her voice and the rising heartbeat of an audience completely mesmerized. And when the final note faded, the silence broke like a dam. The entire audience stood as one. The applause didn't just echo, it thundered. One man shouted "wow" from the back of the room. Amanda Holden wiped a tear from her cheek. Alicia Dixon mouthed, "That was beautiful." And Simon Cowell, he just sat there, speechless for a moment, before slowly breaking into a rare, genuine smile. What viewers also didn't know was that the microphone had slightly glitched at the start of her song, causing panic in the control room. Engineers scrambled to fix it within seconds, but Binita didn't even flinch. She just kept singing, unfazed. Later, one of the sound techs admitted he'd never seen a first-time performer stay that calm under pressure. That alone earned her quiet respect behind the scenes. The judges' feedback was glowing, but even that couldn't fully capture the magic of the moment. Because what made Binita's audition unforgettable wasn't technical perfection. It was emotional honesty. She didn't try to sound like anyone else. She didn't mold herself into a marketable image. She brought her entire self, shy, brave, imperfect, extraordinary, and gave the world a glimpse of what it truly means to sing from the soul. As her audition clip went viral, racking up millions of views, a new chapter began for her. But in that very first performance, something timeless had already happened. A girl who once questioned whether she even belonged on the stage had just redefined it. For herself, and for every quiet dreamer watching at home, wondering if they were enough too. Overnight success is rarely as sweet as it seems, and for Binita Chetry, the days that followed her unforgettable audition were filled with both wonder and weight. One day she was a quiet girl with a song in her heart. The next, she was an internet sensation. Her name trended across continents, her audition was replayed in living rooms around the globe, and strangers began calling her the girl who made the world cry. It should have been the happiest time of her life. But fame, especially when it arrives without warning, is never simple. In the days after the episode aired, Binita found herself swept into a whirlwind she could barely process. Interviews, photo shoots, and social media mentions flooded in. Her inbox filled with fan letters, press requests, and industry offers. She was no longer just Binita. She was a symbol, a sensation, and most dangerously, a commodity. Behind her gentle smile, Binita struggled to find her footing in a world that suddenly demanded she be polished, poised, and constantly performing, not just on stage, but in every public moment. She didn't have a team of managers or stylists guiding her. She didn't have years of media training or connections to fall back on. She had heart. She had talent. But in the storm of showbiz, sometimes that's not enough. The praise came fast, but so did the pressure. Every comment section was filled with admiration, but also the cruel undercurrent of comparison. She's amazing, but not as good as insert previous contestant. Is she really that good, or was it just a sympathy vote? She's sweet, but can she handle a full show? For someone as humble and introverted as Binita, those words mattered. She read them, she felt them, and they stung. The very people who'd lifted her up began to dissect her, note by note, outfit by outfit, facial expression by facial expression. Her singing was no longer just for herself. It had become public property. And while she remained gracious and thankful, the weight of expectation grew heavier by the day. She was no longer just singing, she was being watched. What made it even more difficult was how alone she often felt in the middle of it all. Binita didn't come from a family steeped in entertainment. She wasn't part of a tight-knit influencer circle or a reality show alumni group. She was navigating this storm largely on her own, and while Britain embraced her as a rising star, the cultural disconnect was real. She missed the warmth of home, the simplicity of the life she'd left behind. The girl who once sang to calm her mother now found herself surrounded by agents discussing image strategy and marketability. At times she longed for a moment of silence, for the world to stop clapping long enough for her to catch her breath. But that's not how viral fame works. It demands more, faster, now. Binita tried to keep up. She smiled through interviews. She showed up when asked. She posted gratitude on social media even when she felt overwhelmed. But those close to her noticed the fatigue creeping in. The same girl who once lit up at the sound of a melody now looked uncertain, as if the music had somehow been taken hostage by the machinery of fame. And yet, through it all, she never let go of her grace. Binita didn't snap. She didn't rage against the media or disappear into bitterness. She found moments of stillness in the chaos. She leaned on a few trusted friends. She sang in private, just for herself, to remember why she started. And slowly she began to reclaim her voice. Not the one the world demanded, but the one she had nurtured long before cameras ever found her. In many ways, this period tested her far more than the audition did, because applause is easy to accept. But pressure, judgment, and the fear of not being enough, that's where real strength is forged. Binita's story isn't just one of talent, it's one of endurance, of navigating the dark side of the spotlight without losing the light inside her. For Binita Chetry, the journey didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling or the judges gave their verdicts. In many ways, it was only just beginning. While the world saw a girl with a mesmerizing voice, Binita's life off stage was about the quiet battles she had fought for years and the obstacles she was still determined to overcome. Unlike many reality show contestants who fade into obscurity, she understood that the audition was a platform, but not the destination. What mattered most was the work that came after, the late nights of rehearsal, the moments of self-doubt, the decisions about which opportunities to accept and which compromises to avoid. She wanted to honor her roots, her family, and the sacrifices they had made while carving a path that was authentically hers. Moving beyond Britain's Got Talent, Binita faced a new challenge, balancing public expectation with personal integrity. The world expected her to become a polished star, to perform perfectly in every venue, to post on social media and attend every gala. Yet Binita refused to allow fame to reshape her identity. She embraced her voice, her story, and the emotional honesty that had first captured hearts on the BGT stage. In doing so, she became more than a singer. She became a symbol of perseverance, of quiet courage, of what is possible when you refuse to give up on your dreams despite fear or doubt. Friends and mentors who have followed her journey note, that Binita's impact is already rippling through communities in unexpected ways. Young singers from small towns, girls from immigrant families, and aspiring performers watching her online feel seen for the first time. They see someone who didn't just succeed because of talent alone, but because of resilience, self-discipline, and unwavering authenticity. Binita herself is humble about this influence, insisting that she's still learning, still growing, and still finding her voice every day. But even she admits that the platform she gained from Britain's Got Talent allowed her to reach audiences she never could have imagined. And with that reach comes responsibility, which she embraces with grace. She participates in charity events, mentors young singers, and uses her performances to share messages of hope and determination. Every note she sings carries with it a history of struggle, a celebration of triumph, and a reminder that even the quietest voices can resonate the loudest when given the chance. For viewers and fans, Binita's story is more than just a remarkable audition or viral clip. It's an enduring lesson about courage, humility, and the pursuit of dreams against all odds. She has shown that authenticity matters more than perfection, and that emotional honesty can touch hearts in ways that technical mastery alone never can. And as Binita continues to perform, to grow, and to inspire, the world watches, not just captivated by her talent, but moved by her story and challenged to find their own courage to follow their dreams. In sharing her journey, she reminds everyone that greatness isn't always loud, and that the most meaningful achievements often emerge from the quietest, most determined hearts. Binita Chetry, the girl who once sang alone in the stillness of rural nights, has now become a voice that resonates across nations, a testament to the power of passion, perseverance, and staying true to oneself, no matter the obstacles or expectations that lie ahead.